All views and opinions expressed in this podcast are performed purely for entertainment purposes only.
In a world where the music industry is ruled by pop dreck,
This guy's just like a fucking scumball.
where upside down is right side up,
He's probably going to be like, CTE, fuck it, we're playing with leather helmets. What do you think of that?
where political correctness rules,
Someone should have fucking capped him then.
Jesus.
it's good to know there are some people you can still lean on.
I don't know. How about cancer?
We say what we mean and we mean what we say.
A burning dumpster fire of a picture like that.
This is the Ranting and Raving Podcast with your host, Steve Sandwich Hanish
Get the fuck off my plane.
and Christopher Orangio.
You gotta ease into your life, man.
And it starts now.
Rob Manfred should be taken out back and shot like an old fucking dog.
Old Yeller. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to an episode of the Ranting and Raving Podcast. I'm host and award-winning writer, director, actor, Christopher Orangio.
Hello! I'm Festival Award-winning screenwriter, Steve Sandwich Hanish, and together when our mic stands fall off the table, after Jersey Mike's lunch, we become the Ranting and Raving Podcast.
Pretty much told you guys everything we just did leading up to this. Yes. What's going on, everyone?
Yeah.
Newsflash, fucker.
We eat before we record.
Yeah. And after, and sometimes during. So many of you may know, if you've seen our Facebook posts, I want to say this time last week, Steve and I made an announcement that this would be our, I would say, series finale episode of Ranting and Raving Podcast. We've been going, I want to say, since... I know we definitely started recording in the wintertime.
It was
Of like 2016, of 2015?
November of 2016.
November of 2016.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that long.
Yeah, so it's been, I think starting this off, it was 7 years. But it's been, we've been recording a lot. I want to say at this point up to like 300 episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Past 6 years. And a lot's been going on, even since I'll be very blunt and honest. I think since COVID, don't really want to speak for Steve, but it's been weird for everyone. But I think, when COVID hit, we did a lot of virtual episodes, and things just seem to have been transpiring since that. And last week, Steve and I just had a conversation about how I think that time has kind of run its course recording in terms of I don't know what we wanted out of this and other things. And I guess between the conversation we had, when it starts to feel more like an obligation, it's not really I guess you would say fun per se.
Yeah, I think when we started the podcast, it was started as a creative exercise for us.
And we were coming off the tail end of me doing my podcast for one of my films, and Steve interviewing me for the first and last episode on this little rinky dink fucking H1 Zooms, if you guys are familiar with that. Yeah, on those little fucking rinky dink audio. I remember I was sitting on a couch or a click-clack, and you were sitting where you usually sit, and we were just laved up, just talking about the process of it. And I think we recorded both episodes at in the same day, the beginning and the end, and afterwards we were like, hey, we have something here.
Yeah, it worked really well. And then you had some kind of writer's block thing, and we wanted to do something else. I was looking for whatever to do creatively, and you're like, well, why don't we do more of this thing? And I was like, yeah, let's do a podcast. And then kind of happened real quick, probably too quick. First 4 episodes, I think, are no longer to be found because of technical difficulties, but I think pretty quickly we found our groove here, and obviously we both enjoyed doing this for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
There's nobody else, I think, we can really talk on the same level about movies with.
And sports.
And just kind of
and music, but we have different we have similar tastes and different tastes as well, but I think we're very well versed in a lot of the topics we talked about. I know like some topics got a little, like one of my personal favorites, it was a newer one, was like the conspiracy theory one, and then where would they be if they were still alive. And I know that was probably a little bit more serious one, but it was nice to think like, if Kurt Cobain was alive, Tupac, you went even out the route of like if Patrick Willis and Luke Kuechly stayed. Like I thought that was an interesting one. So it was. We touched a lot. We touched on a lot of different...
And we had a lot of fun doing it always. Yeah. And it was just... I said in my post, it's kind of how I feel. Like, I never thought it would end, but at the same time, it feels kind of inevitable that a creative venture ends. It always seems to happen that way. I know, like, when I write screenplays, I could literally tinker forever. There just has to be a point in time where you stop tinkering, and it is what it is.
And a lot of shows, obviously, that we end up loving, some will run... And I'm not comparing us to like TV shows I grew up on, but
Go ahead.
But like Friends ending after 10 years, Seinfeld ending after 9, newer shows like Marin, shows that you may watch too, like Breaking Bad, like they all kind of ended when they wanted to. I know, creative endeavors, you could say, like run its course. A part of me feels like there's still something like left that we could give, but at the same time, if our hearts aren't in it, then I don't know if we're doing a disservice to ourselves and our fans, because I called a buddy of mine and he's like, damn, it kind of sucks because this podcast, he's like, don't take this the wrong way, the podcast is not yours anymore, it's us, it's the fans that listen to it. It was nice to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. It's just, I think the way I look at it is like, say 300 was always our cap. So when we shifted from doing all year round to doing season breaks, it gave us a little bit more time to extend, chronologically doing the show. But I feel like there was always going to be some kind of a ceiling for us. And I don't want to make it sound like we're breaking up. Like, we're still very good friends. Yeah. We're very close. As I stated, we just shared a lunch date. Like, Chris and I are inseparable, and, so are our wives. So, it's nothing like that. It's just kind of, I think it's just time. I think the Ranting and Raving podcast was a lot of fun for us. It was what it was, and I think it's great. We have an archive of a lot of great content that... It really was great stuff. I think it was tremendous. We had a time when we were on a couple different online radio stations. We were getting thousands of streams per episode. It was really great.
We had a 51% fan base of women in like Ireland, which obviously made our wives jealous, as if we were going to flee to Ireland.
Right.
But because I always thought this show, and maybe I'm being, I don't know what the word would be. I'll call myself idiotic. I just thought this show was made by two dudes, so I thought like this would be catered to dudes. But looking back, and I don't really want to keep patting ourselves on the back, but it's the only way I'm going to get through it without being sad and depressed that this is over. We had our wives on a lot. We had Jess Vasquez, Sarah Kozowski, Gina Rodriguez. I remember Heather Berkey back in the day.
Yep.
We had a lot of different people on. We had a lot of different artists on. So, I think it makes sense that like our fan base was, and I guess in typical fashion, since this show was always like an organized like clusterfuck for the longest time, it would only make sense that our fan base in Ireland, out of all places, where you're from, you pale fuck, is 50% women, and I was like,
I'm Nordic, but I'm a
whatever.
drunk.
Yeah, it's the best of both worlds. As he's seeing double right now.
I have to say, like and thanks to Radio Haver and Drew Carson, it was a huge boost for us. Not just in Scotland and Ireland and Europe, but worldwide.
Scotland, that's what it was. Shit, my bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you fucked up big time. They don't like to be.
They're all the same.
Yeah, they're drunk. They're all drunks. They all like fucking bourbon.
Just like Italians are all wife beaters, right?
But that was a big boost for a while, for a couple of years there, and then it just became feasibly unaffordable to independently run a fucking radio station. So after that, and then obviously we had some hiccups along the way too. We were on a radio station for like 2 weeks, that turned out to be run by a sexist and a fucking homophobe, and so we hopped right off of that one. And then there was another one that we were on, based out of Colorado, that was incredibly awfully
I
run.
forgot about the sexist and homophobic fuck.
Yeah, well, that was brief. That was real brief. I wasn't on the
slate,
the chat, the show, whatever that was when we were all on that.
About that.
I wasn't on that. I heard secondhand, and I was like,
I remember you coming to me like, yeah,
we're pulling.
Yeah.
But not to say like numbers meant anything really to us. It's kind of, on one hand, it's indicative of like, yes, we're doing something right here, but on the other hand, this was always a creative project for us.
Yeah,
it was always cool to do something different, to think in a different way, to kind of be ourselves and just yell about movies. Like nobody else can really, do that on the level that I can have a conversation with you like that about.
I agree.
But it was a lot of fun to do, and we did it for so long, and we went through many different kind of phases and looks and eras, and like having Adam and John on and a lot in the early days. Shit Show Boys.
Having Jeremy Smith on, like I felt like every time we recorded for a while.
Yeah, Jeremy was on a lot. We did a lot of great interviews with a lot of people, not just people we work with on projects. Like
you did a lot of them, yeah. They were really good.
Bands with guys like Ryan George of Screen Rant, Tommy Vex, Nonpoint, a lot of great avenues and a lot of fun things to do. Like, and it was an excuse for us to hang out.
Yeah,
like every single month. And do shorts together and work on projects, and even there would be times we'd come over, record one episode, and they would just end up hanging out for 3 hours, eating and drinking and doing whatever, and it was a lot of fun. And to have our wives on too, like that was a lot of fun to have them on for like the holiday episodes, or like if it was a show they knew more about than us, like The Office or something like that.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Now that we're ending, I can say it. I was always very like scared to bring them on, because I think when they're not recording, they're on, right? They can they're just on, right? And some people, when I guess the lights are on or the record is the
Hey, the marinara seeped into my soul.
Yeah, that's my wife Jess saying accurately that she loves Italian food. Or
I like how she's choking.
Yeah,
and then she has the politeness to go, "Hey, I'm dying."
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was when they came on, they were great.
Episode?
Oh my god, yeah, the Bizarre episode was one of my favorite ones, and it probably could have worked if they didn't laugh midway through introducing themselves.
I think it would have worked better if they were a little. I'm going to be honest, a little less cocky about what we do here. Yeah. This is more complicated than what it looks like. Because they sat in these fucking pilot chairs, and we went, okay, we're just guests now. This is Bizarre episode, and they went again, and then they sat there, and I was like, you got to click record, you got to open this, you got to do that.
Yeah.
And then even when it was going, they would look at us as if we were the hosts. And in the Bizarro world, we are not.
They're not. And
it was like, go on, host. Drive the show.
They had no idea how to start the show. That's the thing. Yeah. You hit record. They're like, "Oh, are we ready?" You don't open a show like, "Are we ready?" It's zero confidence. But yeah, no, that was pretty.
No, only we do that.
Yeah, that was pretty fun. The one last Christmas episode, or last one or two of them, when Carrie dressed up as the Christmas tree. When we did that was fun. Yeah, it was just a lot to like kind of like take in and soak in. And ever since like we made that announcement, I've gotten a handful of people to reach out and be like, "Holy shit, dude, like I didn't know you did that many episodes, or you you were on for that long." And everyone's saying like, try to enjoy this last recording session. Don't be upset about it, like enjoy it. And my buddy Andrew, he's like, yeah, I did a podcast, and he promoted it briefly through Radio Haver, and he's like, when I had to go back to work when COVID got lifted, he's like, how the fuck am I going to balance both? I think that's something that only our wives personally had to take the brunt of it, of us recording for 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday, on a Friday, and taking time away from them. I know, I sound like, oh, we always hang out with them, but you and I both love alone time. Both love doing our own thing.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like
need it.
Yeah, so there are times, when because I was recording my other project separately. I there was a lot of nights where I just wasn't around hanging with Jess, and then I double, triple, quadruple checked. Like, are you sure? And I did it with this podcast as well, because it's like, and it was nice that she was like, fuck yeah, go for it. Like, you need that in your life. So, a special shout out to Jess and Carrie, because they were very much. I don't want to speak for like you and Carrie. I can only just see what I've seen the last 7 years. She's never thrown a bitch fit that I've had to come here in her house and record. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh no,
that's
never.
a really big, like, that having support like that, I think always goes unnoticed, personally, like, from anyone. So yeah, I think their support and their like push was like helped me. I know it helped me, because I was like, man, I'm tired. And then I would look at like what we're recording. I'm like, oh, this is a fun episode. Like, you just kind of psych yourself up to do it. And, if you had someone in your ear being like, oh, you don't want to go up there. Jess was always like, fuck it, go. I'll hang out with my family or Dana or something,
Right.
So, but yeah, no, it's been great having them it was great having them on and just always giggling because puppies were here.
Yeah. It's been quite a ride. One last ride. It's been a lot of fun. I didn't think, again, when we started, I didn't think it could last this long. I didn't know if it was a one-season thing. I didn't know if it, because again, for writing, it's kind of like a one and done. That's how I write. Like, I don't write like
sequels or
TV shows. That like format. Like, it's a thing, an idea, and then I do it, and then I go to the next thing. So I didn't have any idea that this would turn into what it did. And especially when we were, because at first, for the first several years, we were just going. Like, it was just going.
Yeah, we
like,
recorded straight through years, not just a year. Like,
yeah.
We didn't take a break in the winter. We didn't take a break in the summer. We were just like.
So it just never occurred to me, like, again, when we started to get a little burnt out, we started to scale back a little bit, and then we did like season breaks and stuff like that. And I feel like that helped prolong us. But it just kind of was like a natural thing to always like keep picking up and keep doing and keep going. And then I think we both just kind of reached a point where it felt like a chore. For me personally, I don't want to speak for you. For me personally, it started to become a chore to just start the engines, so to speak, like to get the list done. And like, when you find yourself, like, when I would post to social media, it would be like the day of, instead of having stuff planned out for a week before. When it came to doing the list, I would have to do it before you fucking got here instead of doing it the week before. Like, kind of these little signs kept popping up, like, maybe, like, I don't think the content ever suffered. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, but the
but
will to do the content.
Yeah, and especially, again, like, since those online radio stations, well, really just Radio Haver, since Radio Haver went down, so did our viewership and streams. And not that matters, but it's a lot of effort to put in to get, 20 or 25 plays per episode by whoever. And again, we do have people listen to us all over the world.
Yeah.
But again, and I don't know if that's starting the move to Anchor from Podbean, if the reach is as the same. I don't know. I don't have any idea. I don't know what numbers your podcast does.
Yeah, I might have to pop on Podbean at some point, honestly. Anchor is
just
Anchor's
free.
Yeah. Anchor's free. Anchor, so like anyone could do a podcast. I don't recommend everyone doing one, because not everyone is
qualified.
I think so. I don't want to sound cocky. I think it on here, like, we're characters. We do a little bit of embellishing. I think we're like that when we're in the crowd of people, when we have an audience in general. Everyone I know who likes telling jokes and who thinks who are funny, is like that. Like my dad. My dad sees a crowd, and the lights are on. He's on stage. You and I are like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's how I deal with, like, I think I have some form of social anxiety where I don't like people. I don't like crowds. I don't like anything like that.
But if you say
the only way I get comfortable
is joking.
Is being funny, because then people laugh, and people go like, I would never say that in public.
Yeah.
Like, it's that kind of a weird thing where you go like, now I have the power.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
So I say all that because it's like, I think sometimes people do really think, and I've said this all the time, and I don't want it to bite me in the ass. I think some people, there's a difference between like going into a new endeavor. endeavor and being open-minded and being like willing to learn. I think, and I'm talking from a filmmaking standpoint. When people want to like, I decide I want to wake up and be a director today. That's not personally for me. Like, you can do that, but like then find a writer. It takes a lot of work, and this took we did a lot of growing pains during this. Some people think because they can just buy a mic, you have to have a personality. You have to think about what you are really talking about, like. Whether you guys saw it or not, because we only introduced video the last 2 seasons, we had fucking lists upon lists. We had a lot of shit planned out. We had before we called it quits, we had a phase of what this season was going to be. Like, and this was the first time we did it, but we did have it planned out. And I think that has to go into our personality. And I'm not saying all this to be like, oh, if you're not prepped, don't do it. But like, before you do something that ends up being a 300 episode thing, 7 seasons, I'm just prefacing all of it by saying we didn't just show the fuck up and turn on a mic and do it. Like, a lot of work goes into that. And I know I feel like I talk on that topic a lot to like ad nauseum, but I think I get a little upset when people think it's that easy, and it's not.
Yeah,
it really isn't. Like, even when we were filming Blind Man, and maybe I thought you told me this or said this, but you were like, shit, man, like, we only went over a half hour out of the 2 days once. Like, you guys are well-oiled machines. Like, I didn't even know I didn't know all that. Like, a lot of people don't know like what goes into it when you're like actually in it, Well,
not that I didn't know. I thought it was impressive. We only went over by one half an hour on a 2 day shoot.
Yeah,
that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Not that you didn't know, but there was, I think some people go like, it would be like me stepping on like a fucking studio film and be like, oh, there's like literally a position for literally everything. I don't have to do 5 things at once. That's why you see directors chilling in an air conditioned room with a monitor. Right. They're not in there with actors per se. So,
yeah, there's a ton of behind the scenes that goes into launching something like this and keeping it running, and I think this was a great show for what we wanted to accomplish. I think we both wanted to be funny and ridiculous and just talk about movies, and we had a great fucking time doing that. Yeah, like you said, it's a ton of embellishing. Like, some of my favorite sound bites are me making fun of Benjamin Button. In reality, I didn't hate the movie.
Yeah.
I just I couldn't wrap my head around why it won Oscars, but I enjoyed the movie. I think it's a ridiculously cool story that F. Scott Fitzgerald once wrote, but to be funny, you kind of like rag it, especially in those kinds of episodes. I'm pretty sure that was an episode called Movies Everybody Loves But We Hate.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to take the opposition in that and
of course
play up our character. Like I take it like Larry David says, like his character in Curb is like who he wishes he could be sometimes in real life.
Yeah,
like
but
the lady
doesn't.
trying every flavor of Baskin Robbins, he wished he had the balls to go and say something but doesn't. So in the show, he goes and says something and like turns into a big fight. Like, I feel like that, at least personally, that's how I attacked doing this show, is to be as stupid and ridiculous as possible, because quite frankly, at the end of the day, this is a form of entertainment.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing. We're being creative and we're entertaining.
Yep.
I hope.
Yeah,
that's kind of the idea.
No, we did because people are very upset that we are calling it quits, or ending now.
Yeah, it's a message reaching out saying like, "Oh, that sucks," and I had some reaching out saying like, "You're still doing that?" So it's like,
really? Some people have said that.
Parts, like,
oh wow!
Yeah, like,
I didn't know people said that. That's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's kind of, I feel like it's indicative of like when you get the thousands of streams, it's kind of naturally pushed to more places, like an algorithm, and then when the stream stops, so does the algorithm. It's kind of that same thing. And quite frankly, the fact that we always tagged ourselves as explicit, that also kind of pinholes you. We can never get sponsors because of how explicit we were. We wouldn't have had any podcast play in China because you're marked as explicit on iTunes. Like, there was a certain thing. We went into this saying this is going to be our show and we're going to run it this way.
Yeah.
And we always stayed true to that. And I give us both credit for that. We always stayed true to doing that. Even when this podcast cost us money instead of made us money, we didn't care because we wanted to run the show the way we wanted to run our show. And we fucking did that. And that's awesome. And now we've come to a point where we are the ones deciding to call it quits. It's not just, Someone else made that call for us.
Yeah.
We decided to make that call. I wish we could say we went out on top like Seinfeld. That's not the case, but it also doesn't matter to me. I feel like we, and again, I want to say, we're in such a great place personally with each other. It's not anything indicative. Like, again, I'm a big Opie and Anthony fan from back in the day. Their personal relationship fucking tanked the last several years they were working on the air together, and that's what killed the show eventually. That is not what is happening here. We personally are doing fantastic. We personally just feel like we want to do different creative things at this point.
Yeah, I think
A podcast should help us, not fuck us over.
yeah.
And I feel like if we continue down this road of being ridiculous characters, saying ridiculous things,
Yeah.
people who listen to audio mediums for some reason take it as serious word
Yeah.
instead of what it should be, which is a form of comedy entertainment.
Yeah, and I think
And it's super unfortunate that that's how the world is today, but that's how the world is today.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, like Steve said, we have own you know, it's hard to explain to people who may not get it, and I'm not saying no one gets it, but it's just like any relationship. I want to say any relationship runs its course because you have marriages that last forever, you have friendships that last forever. A creative relationship is a lot different because it is tough because there's been times, not many, where you and I were not on the same page with the show. Not many times.
Which
So
is impressive.
it is very impressive. And, you know, we can chalk this up. I wouldn't even say like to creative differences. Just I think we have different, you know, a lot's going, you know, a lot is different in our lives. You know, obviously in the beginning of the season, I announced that I was going to be a father. This has nothing to do with it, if I'm going to be honest with you. Because even in my mind, when I was like, I'm not going to have time to do stuff, my wife said, the fuck you are, you're not going to stop doing it. And I was like, wow, you know, like,
You better get out of my face.
yeah, exactly. So, you know, and to see people I've worked with in the past few months who have like a 9-month-old, 10-month-old, and they're filming, you know, a scene from 8 p.m. to 1 a.m. And I didn't ask, oh, your wife is okay with that? Just if they're there, you know that like their wife or their husband is like,
Yeah.
that, you know,
Supportive.
So I don't know where the fuck I was going. I apologize. All I'm saying is like things in creative relationships happen all the time. I've had relationships, creative relationships end because ego. And that burns, that stings. This is not it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is not it. It just, I think we have, you know, we have just different things we want to do. And right now, like Steve is saying, this would only, I think, stop us from getting to where we ultimately want to go. And if it's, you know, it's simple as you working with someone, and if they like, I don't want to call anyone out. There was times I felt like when I was still living in Florida, where some people, not everyone, but some people didn't see the benefit in filming something every weekend, right? So I was like, well, I might as well just move back home, because if I'm starting from scratch, I felt like anyway, might as well start from scratch 35 minutes outside of Manhattan. You know what I'm saying? I know a lot of people down there now go to Atlanta because Atlanta is thriving since Hunger Games and Marvel, obviously, you know, like Walking Dead. But I left that area when all of those things were like just starting. You know what I'm saying? But I was like, New York, fuck it. And I moved up here and I met some wonderful people in New York, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's just a thing in the creative world where, unfortunately, just relationships don't last. You want to talk about a very public, serious one is Larry David and I guess NBC or Seinfeld in general. He wasn't on the last 2 seasons of Seinfeld.
Right.
And to me, some of the best stuff is the last 2 seasons, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's like it happens, but you still see Larry and Jerry, Larry and Jason Alexander, Larry and Jennifer,
Julie Louis
Julie,
Dreyfus.
I don't know why the fuck I called Jennifer. Julie Louis Dreyfus, like they did a season of Curb like 10, 12 years ago. Like they're still on really good terms. It's just you have to separate friendship from business. And I think this personally, although we weren't making money per se, this is a business decision to figure some other shit out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best way to put it. Because I think as we're getting older, we're trying to really, really make a mark in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
So
well said. Yeah, a creative relationship in just this podcast is ending, but we obviously have filmed. I think it's going to be a tremendously funny and amazing short film we did a month ago, maybe, if that.
April 29th.
April 29th, yeah, and then
So
May 1st, right?
A month and a half, almost a month and a half. Yeah.
But that's going to be incredible. We're never going to stop collaborating. Our friendship's not going to stop. Our sexual companionship with each other's not going to end.
I'm still going to be the top.
I'm still going to be a power bottom. We're still going to, do things together. It's just, again, this road, I think, has just kind of come to a natural end. And again, I think the biggest thing we have to say now is thank you to everyone who ever tuned in and listened to us. You guys were incredible. The likes and the comments on YouTube and social media shares and just general streams. Thank you to everyone who reached out and told us what a good job we were doing. As artists, that's always an amazing thing to hear, is how you impact someone. Usually positively, although the negative stuff can help you make decisions as well. But thank you for supporting the show and listening for all these years and almost 300 episodes. After the lost episodes and the fucking other shit like love letters, call it over 300 episodes.
Yeah.
I think the idea of this podcast when we started was to help us push our material, kind of get our names out there, our voices, and I think we just kind of reached a point in society where maybe that's not the best thing. It's kind of crazy. Like, we can, you can be yourself, but if it's being recorded, if it's being put out there, you have a target on your back. Yeah. And it's kind of fucking insane. Yeah,
it is a little disheartening. Because I even feel a little, even like, and maybe I shouldn't feel this way. There's times where I think it's just us four hanging out. Mm-hmm. Us four meaning, our wives. And I feel like if I say something a little too overboard, I know what everyone's reaction is going to be. Jess is going to say my name as if, like, Chris, but think it's funny. Carrie's going to not know what's happening. And you're going to laugh, right? But when we're at when you guys did your party, when you guys did your parties, or we do parties at our place, and I may not say what I want to say. I know Leif always said, like, when you and I are bullshitting at a party, it's like he's on a live episode of Ranting and Raving. Uh-huh. But that's just how you and I are. But there are times where I say stuff where I'm like, this ain't the crowd for it. And I don't know. I'm just... And then I look at my dad, and my dad will say like a fucking pedophile joke, or will say whatever is on his mind, and everyone's dying. Yeah. And or people are like, oh my God, no. Yeah. But like, he really, truly doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. So it's just kind of like, where can we meet in the middle where like people know it's a joke? Like, I think it's tone. I think it is like a punchline, a setup. Like, I saw a video, my buddy Jerron sent me a video of Sam Morrill talking about how bodegas and crackheads are now like one and one, like are back in being unison now. He said during COVID they weren't really together. Now they're like now they're in Podico or in some, I forgot what simpatico now. And he said it like in just doing the videos, and there was a woman off to the side that said, I don't find that funny, that's offensive. And he said, tell me why, and she couldn't answer him.
Well, exactly.
So,
if you don't like it, don't go see him live. But I think that's a really important thing you said there, and I feel like that maybe is a good thing to start wrapping up on that point, is that we started this show for creative endeavors, and because we went, wow, we could really have something good here from a content perspective. We didn't start a podcast and went, how can we piss off everyone all at the same time? Yeah. We went, we've got personality together. We are funny. We can talk about movies maybe to a level that generally people don't. Like, I think these are all very positive things. And that's what we started doing on the show, and that's what we did for 300 episodes. And I'm proud of that. I'm very proud of this show. I just think, again, in society today, we're putting a target in our back for no reason. And I think that's very unfortunate, but unfortunately it's indicative of where we are as a society. But I think our aim was always the same. It was always to make good content. It was always to entertain, and it was always for us to flex our creative muscles. And we did that, and we've accomplished that. And I think we should be proud of that.
Exactly.
And I think we should look back in a positive light of this thing. That being said, again, because of the society we're in today, as this episode drops, as you are listening to it now, you will have, like The Ring, you will have 7 days to listen to whatever you want to of the Ranting and Raving podcast. All our episodes are up there, except for the 4 lost episodes. You have 1 week to listen to whatever you want to listen to. Share it out. Do whatever you want with it. After that, the Ranting and Raving podcast will be no more. But again, Chris and I are on great terms. You can always follow both of us on social media. Listen to the tags at the end of the episode. And once again, just thank you for everybody who supported and listened to us all this time.
Yeah.
Really,
and to the people who came
incredible.
On,
all our guests. Everybody
before we
who
wrap
came
out,
on.
who is what are some of your favorite like guests, or maybe some of your favorite episodes as we're reminiscing?
Well,
I
like
know
you
there's
said,
a lot to do.
I really enjoyed maybe the concept of the Bizarro episode. Maybe the execution wasn't great, but I think that was really creative. I enjoyed the shit shows that we would do where we just did games and didn't have a topic. And Adam never had a list, but still somehow would come up with the best picks.
Yeah.
John's always fun. I think John has probably the best radio voice of anyone we ever had on.
Yeah.
I feel like
besides ours, of course, yes.
Yeah, no, a terrible radio
phenomenal.
voice.
He was phenomenal.
I have a terrible radio voice, but John is always funny. And again, all our friends, like
John was always stoned
Leif
out of his
and
mind.
Nolan, and yeah.
What was that one What was that one thing where I was going on, and I think I peaked too early with like being so dry that like you don't believe anything I say anymore. Like, because I would reel you in, and you'd be like, really?
Oh yeah.
Now I feel like you ignore me.
Yeah.
With all that, but I said, yeah, Jake Long from Michigan, he died, and John was so happy, and then like when something serious happens when you're stoned, you're like, wait, what the fuck? Like you get all serious, you see the bloodshot running through your eyes.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm lying, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And he like got really sad because he felt for an offensive tackle drafted in 2007. Who does? Besides you and John and maybe Nolan.
I know.
You know? And not even for your team. Didn't he get drafted by like the Dolphins?
Jake Long was a Dolphin. Yeah, not even close. Giants weren't even interested. I enjoyed the moments during the show when it was always cool when we would have the same pick, because again, I've said this a lot during our 300 episodes. Chris and I never, not once, collaborated on a list. Everything you heard of our picks was blind reactions from the other. So some of my favorite shit is when we absolutely 100% did not see eye to eye. Because again, I feel like we're so similar in the fact that we just want to make each other laugh all the time, that when we had a pick that the other didn't see coming or didn't agree with at all, it was some of the most fucking hilarious shit in the world. I'm talking like Clash of the Titans was always a great one. The Matt Damon hate was funny. Bloodfather, like all that kind of the Russell Crowe Meg Ryan thing.
God.
Like I was crying. Like some of that stuff that you never saw coming. Because again, we would prepare for the show and we would launch the show and do all that kind of stuff. But we always wanted to keep our lists blind from the other one, so our reactions could be genuine. So I feel like some of that stuff is some of the funniest, because that would just launch a tangent. And then the episode ended up being an hour and a half or 2 hours because we couldn't get past this one thing that happened that we couldn't see coming.
Yeah. I mean, you were really throttled by the fact that I didn't like Russell Crowe.
No. Not that you didn't like Russell Crowe. It was you didn't like Russell Crowe.
Oh yeah, because he
of
stole
a Hollywood relationship from the early 2000s that you still
because my mom was so adamant on that. I was like, you know what, you're right, Mom. I'm team fuck Russell Crowe like you. Anything for her to love me. Oh, but no. And then
What about you? What were some of the favorite, like maybe not even just episodes, but what were some of the favorite things about doing the show, or some of the repeat?
I really, really miss having guests in person, and I know that kind of changed. There was like a moment, I think it was our 100th episode where we're sitting here and it's that like I feel like
It's a shit show, boys.
but like I felt like it was Leif and maybe someone else. The room was just packed out.
There was one time where he had
It was John and
Adam
Leif.
and John, and we had an extra chair in,
Leif.
and Leif and John were sharing a microphone, or Adam and John were sharing a
And
microphone.
I just remember that episode where I'm having a conversation with them. You and Adam are having a separate conversation all at once. You could still hear things. And Leif was always the one to like, he always laughed at like the jokes I didn't think were going to hit. But like he always like, or like seconds later, like he got it and he was like, that's a little fucking dark, Chris. You know, like stuff like that. Like that made me like having him on, having you guys do your sibling thing. Like that was fun.
It was always fun to have different people in because, again, like I don't feel like our personalities change, but the way we banter or how the episode sounds always changes based on who is on the episode.
Hearing you the last few years interview some of these musicians, seeing you have that like relationship with them, that was pretty cool. What else, man? Like, I'm trying to think. Like, I'm being biased, and I apologize. Having my dad on was pretty cool.
That was
like,
great.
I know
That was a
I
lot
don't
of
want to
fun.
be biased, but like, I don't. Out of a room,
It was a lot of fun because then it was 2 against 1 on you.
Oh, well, that. But I was ready for
We
anything.
double-teamed.
I was ready for anything. But you know, you've done stand up a handful of times. So has he. I did it twice. So I'm not ever going to call myself a comic. But like hearing just people who love stand up comedy
Yes.
talk about it. You know, me asking him who's your favorite stand up comedy and him not being afraid to be like, I know it's unconventional, but Bill Cosby. Like, I don't know if you might know it because you're a historian of stand up comedy. Me, not so much. But I only know Bill Cosby and even as Bob Saget as America's dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, like that's how I know them. Huxtables,
I said
Tanners.
We've said that a lot about like athletes, but you got to separate the art from the person.
Of course.
Sometimes.
No,
like,
yeah. And that's what my dad said. Like, but like,
or musicians too. Like
exactly.
There's a lot.
There's
a lot of musicians that are like that. But Bill Cosby's stand-up was fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You know.
He's
just a insanely talented person.
Yeah.
Bad person.
Yes.
Talented person. Can I say that? Talented person, but bad person.
Give me
enjoy
cookie.
the art. Don't enjoy the person.
Give me cookie, got you cookie. I think
Give me cookie,
this
got
is
you
something
cookie,
that's
man.
like really behind the scenes, breaking the fourth wall, but like gathering those sound bites,
Oh my god.
doing Stephen A. Smith impression, doing sound bites of our own.
I am Hades.
Me first starting at JR and discovering The Rock and saying Womack for 9 months, and then you saying it,
Oh my
and
god.
Carrie saying it, and all you
Dude,
know.
and then that was years that passed, and then we went on a brief Nicolas Cage marathon. We got 3 movies in, and Carrie was like, "I don't ever want to see Nicolas Cage on screen again." We were watching The Rock was one of them, and at one point he goes, "Womack," and Carrie looked at me. She was like, "Is that what that's from?" I was like, "Yes." How's your bowling?
Yeah,
arm?
your bowling arm. Man, I don't.
What are you gonna do about it, asshole?
I do think, because I don't remember what we did for our 200th episode, if we had anybody in, because 200th was mad recent, obviously. So I don't know if we had the girls
There was a point in
on.
time where we had Mike Harper came up, and we ranked our favorite episodes. I don't remember.
Eric Olson coming on.
Eric was great.
The only thing I regret is not doing an in-person episode with Charlie. I actually regret that because I was in Florida when he was up here.
Charlie was in the
Charlie
host
was in
chair.
the seat. I was on the road on the phone.
Yes.
And then we did the one Ask at Your Own Risk, and I just felt like
That was a lot of
this is
fun,
fucking
too.
this is going to be something good.
Yeah.
So I kind of regret not having him on, like in person.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to have your dad on. I don't know where you get all your humor. It's our dads.
Yeah, and I see a lot of it coming from my grandmother and my dad's side too.
Yeah.
Like she'll say things where you go like,
Like
Grab it!
when I was younger, I always felt like the humor was from like my dad and my stepdad Jim.
Then maybe you shouldn't be living here!
But
maybe my favorite soundbite of all time.
But my mom, I say the most fucked up jokes, and my mom's the first one to laugh.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
I'm like, oh, so maybe we do have the same type of humor.
Oh, 100%.
We've done I did a separate episode that we just chalked up to Ranting and
Your
Raving.
family's just ball breakers. You understand that, right? Like when we
But
all
yours
hung out
are
in
too,
Florida,
no? Like-
I was like, oh, this all makes total sense.
But so's your dad though.
Yeah,
Your
well,
dad's
yeah,
always on.
absolutely.
Your dad is always on.
My dad's a lot like, or I should say, I'm a lot like
Yeah.
my dad in well, a lot of ways. Social circumstances, would rather like be the one making jokes.
Yeah.
And then like when he's done with the social gathering, he could be happy just sitting
Yeah.
at home for 2 weeks and not doing a thing. Just like
Gotcha.
me.
But yeah, you
or
do.
me just like him.
You do understand where that's why I need to know. Like people need to know. If you need to know me, meet my family, you'll understand why I am the way that I am.
I feel like you're a lot like your mother, where like you're 50% like the nicest, most caring, most warming person I've ever known, and then 50% saying the most fucked up, awful shit I've ever heard in my life. But it all comes from a place of like love and just wanted to make the people around you laugh. Like I could see
like
that.
my mom, I remember she's like, yeah, Jim and I watched Ted, and I was like, and she was like, I'm all fucked up.
Yeah,
Like, I was like,
yeah.
what is happening right now? Yeah, but no, yeah, I think that's kind of funny where you see where our humor comes from, and that just to you guys that just shows how close we are. Like we've hung out with our. I've hung out at your parents' house. You've hung out. You were there for my fucking engagement. You and Carrie. Carrie helped me.
Oh, my parents love you guys.
Help me that. Yeah, I love them.
I suspect a little bit more than me.
My mom is always like, Steve, it's so funny. You keep saying that.
And I
Like
love
my
to
Uncle
hear-
Dave. My Uncle Dave is like, Steve, just a naturally funny guy. Doesn't have to try too hard. And he looked right at me. I was like, the fuck is that for, you motherfucker?
That's some July 8th connection
Yeah.
right there. That's what that is.
The worst month of all. And my daughter might be
Your daughter's
born in
gonna be
that.
born in July.
Another cancer in my life. You, Milan, my Uncle Dave. I need more emotional fucks in my life. I love you, sweetie. In case you hear this 18 years from now. But no, man. I just, I didn't want to post it in the Facebook post because I felt like it's a little cheap. I wanted to say it to you. I wanted people to hear, man. Like the last 6-7 years, there's been a lot of fun. I can't speak for you. I think it's has set me up for my own podcast, for me to do voiceovers, for me to be a producer, for me to curate lists, for me to look at things a little differently. I think this was the best exercise for a writer's block I've ever had. So I appreciate you and you. I just appreciate you, man. It's I think it's helped me a lot as an artist. So I'm forever grateful for it,
Good. Well, thank you. And yeah, I love you like a brother. Thank you for believing in me, being a host to interview 2 of your episodes on your own project, and then to just launch maybe the longest writer's block exercise of human history.
Yeah, we never thought about that. 7-year writer's block exercise is coming to an end.
Yes. This has been an incredible joy and pleasure to do. Absolutely. It's been so much fun and it's something we should wear as a badge of honor to say, like, we're going to do a different creative medium and we're going to be good at it. Is not something that many people can do, I feel like. And we've been able to do that. It balanced a lot of different kinds of using our brain in different ways. This has been a lot of curating list at one kind of point in time and then coming back to that list while we record and being on the spot, thinking of things like thinking of fucking years of movies and actors' names and kind of who they work with and what the movie's about and kind of just this random fucking
some people may say it's
cavalcade of shit that I don't know that a lot of people can do. Like last night we were hanging out with friends of ours and somebody brought up Witness, the Harrison Ford movie.
Who brought that up?
I don't remember, but I was happy to talk about it, of course. And then I looked at Karen and I went, 1985, look it up. And she looked it up and she just went like, fuck, you're a freak. Like, there's not many outlets I can use my Rain Man-like talents towards. This was one of them. And like I said, I feel like we're on enough of a similar page where this doesn't feel like a depressing moment in time. It just feels like the natural we like to do bookend episodes. This feels like a natural bookend time for the Ranting and Raving podcast. And once again, thank you to everybody who listened to us and supported us all this time. Our Patreon associate producers, when we had Patreon, you guys were amazing. I know there's definitely a couple mics we bought with that money. There was a set of headphones that I smashed one episode.
I also want to shout out. Yeah, like someone who we never. I feel like what's her name? Ashley Plants would always give us episode ideas that ended up being episode topics.
Yeah.
Jess and Carrie giving us ideas. Everyone, man, everyone who's hopped on here has been.
And then bulldogging their way onto the episode with their ideas.
Yeah. Jess always saying, you know what? I deserve a spot on there. Well, you know what? Yeah, just like I deserve a spot in an NBA roster. Get the fuck out of here.
I could be a 15th man. No doubt about it.
I could be a water boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I would drink all the water.
I would be really bad at the guy who mops up the sweat.
Yeah.
A lot of bending on the knees, the lower back.
I wrangled cord.
I would do a half-assed job at that, and then some NBA player would rupture his Achilles because the floor was
LeBron
still
has
wet.
busted his knee because 35-year-old Steve Hannon is a water man.
Just for some reason, my shirt's halfway down my belly and my hat's crooked. I'm just like, huh?
I wrangled cord for.
Is that what they call it now?
I don't even know. It wasn't the G League. It's the Jacksonville Bullshits, Jacksonville Giants. They're called. I don't know what league they were in.
What sport is it?
Basketball. I wrangled cord.
You said Jacksonville Giants. That could literally
it could be anything.
Any sport.
It could be anything.
Could have been fucking curling. I don't know.
That's true. And I was wrangling cord. I was like, this is making me hate the sport of basketball because I'm just trying to watch, and the cameraman who's been there for 40 years hates his life. Come on, kid. Like, come on, we got to get in there in the huddle. I was like, all right, relax, fucking. What's that fucker from Jaws? The old fucking guy? Schwar you old.
Quint.
Why am I... Yeah, Quint. It's fucking Quint on a camera.
Hold me, boy. You got to hold me tight.
Yeah.
We got to get close enough to see their eyes roll over. Wait.
So, yeah, man. Once again, this is...
Bacon is good for me.
Podcasting is good for me. This has been a great 7 years.
Absolutely.
And once again, thanks to everyone who listened to us. And yeah, one last time for Ranting and Raving Podcast, I'm Chris.
And I'm Sandwich.
And we're out of here.